من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. We all have the intention and the desire to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And during that process, there are many different challenges that come our way. Our deen, Islam, has a specific framework and a worldview that it presents. And we find here in the West that certain things don't fit in that framework, don't fit in that worldview. We then, our children, our families find ourselves in a very difficult situation. Where on the one side, our deen and our Islam is telling us one thing, but in the society we live in, it advocates for something else. And we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. We wonder, how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our children from that? Sometimes these are very core values. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ taught us is that, remember, if you want change, first you have to recognize that the change has to come from your own self. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't change people until they change themselves. Likewise, when it comes to foreign ideologies, when it comes to foreign ideals and practices, how do you protect yourself and your children from it? You have to take a very active approach. If you don't take an active approach to it, then those foreign ideas, those foreign ideals, practices, they start to come in. And we start to become desensitized to it. And that's very dangerous. Because when we become desensitized to those ideas, then we no longer see them as wrong. Today, for example, nudity is so common. Especially now it's summer. You go anywhere, you'll find nudity anywhere. You open the TV, it's there. We as Muslims are taught to cover ourselves. We're taught about haya. We're taught about chastity. And yet in the society we live in, that's rampant. Now we wonder, how do I guard my children from that? Likewise, other ideals. Ideas and ideals. Thoughts. We, from a very young age, we have our children watching TV. Say, oh, they're cartoons. PBS Kids. And there's so many different ideas that our children are learning, we don't even realize. Then when they get older, they want to have a boyfriend, a girlfriend. And we say, where did this come in from in our household? SubhanAllah. That's something that they've been watching since they were young. You open even a kid's show, that's something that's so common. And now you're wondering, how is my son, how is my daughter caught up in all of this? You take LGBTQ today. You go in any college, in any school, now it's difficult to speak. If you show your view, that no, we don't agree with this type of lifestyle, 2 men getting married, 2 women getting married, we don't agree with it. This is contrary not only to our beliefs, but to our religion. And we have the right and freedom to speak our mind. All of a sudden we're shut down. You can no longer. You go to any college, any student in high school or in college has this type of view and they say it. Everybody's going to criticize it or her. That's the kind of difficult situation we're in. Sometimes within our own households, our children are wondering, what's wrong with it? Baba, what's wrong? 2 people, they love each other. Why can't they get married? What? This is what you're taught at school. And now we wonder, how did things get this bad? It's because we never took an active approach in number one, learning our deen and teaching those ideals to our children. So now, when those things are open and our children are now older, now we're wondering, where did this come from? How did this happen? Fahsha, nudity, lewdness, it becomes so common. Now, subhanAllah, everyone has a phone. You can open up your phone and you can watch anything. The person sitting next to you may not even have any idea what you're doing. So, subhanAllah, how did this happen? Where did this come from? It's because we never took an active approach in dealing with it. Recognize wrong as wrong. You have to learn it. You have to know it. You have to teach it. If you see something wrong, okay, then at least say something wrong. You cannot do this. And if you cannot even do that, then at the very least, you have to recognize in your heart that that is something wrong. But what happens is when we lose even that, what did the Prophet say? That's the lowest form of Iman. Why? Because if you don't even recognize that wrong thing to be wrong anymore, it means what? Now you've become desensitized to it. Now that's how the wrong becomes right. Because you no longer think of it wrong. So what happens? If it's not wrong, it's going to become right. Opposite of munkar, opposite of wrong is right. And so now, those very things, those very ideals that were once wrong, we consider them to be right. We see that in this society too. This was, you take a couple hundred years back, very Christian society. Values, Christian values. But over time, what happens is when wrong is no longer looked at wrong, what's going to happen? Well, slowly, that wrong becomes right. You no longer look at it as wrong. Today, fornication is not something bad. Although it is something bad, even in Christianity. People are recognizing it. Parents, non-Muslim parents too. Their kids go to high school, they recognize, oh, my kids are probably, okay, what do they say? Just make sure you're using protection. Now, we're in the stage where our children are born here, they're raised here, they go to school here, they've been to public school, they've been watching TV since they were young, and now when they're getting older and now they're expressing these things to us, now we become scared, like, how did this happen? We never provided them that kind of education, we never provided them a proper environment. What do you expect is going to happen? Those same ideals are repetitive. Are repeatedly demonstrated to them, are told to them, are taught to them systematically. Now we wonder, subhanAllah. Then, on top of that, we ourselves don't educate ourselves about Islam. Right? We don't educate ourselves about Islam. So now, if our children do come to us and they ask us these types of questions, say, this is wrong, you cannot speak like this, don't talk like that, don't ever say it. Who are the Ansars they're going to share to, who are they going to go to? They've never been introduced to ulama. Oh, we have a stigma with ulama. We have a problem. Scholars are backward thinking. Now we have a problem. I remember I had a good friend who was Imam Masjid. A lady came to him and she was going, Imam, Saf, I need your help with my son. What's wrong? He's leaving the fold of Islam. And he's drinking alcohol. Could you please talk to him? SubhanAllah, at this point now you're coming to me and you're asking me to talk to him. You think I really will be able to make a difference? And I'll go ahead, I'll talk. But do you even think that he's going to come to the masjid? Do you even think he's going to come to the masjid? If that's the state. You're going to force him to come to the masjid. He's not going to want to listen to these school teachers who volunteer. But with all honesty, how much have they learned about Islam? How much do they know about Islam? If you're a Sunday school teacher, I would actually ask you to think about that. How much do you know? Did you actually go and study? Now, recognize the responsibility and the accountability that's on your shoulders. The point is on our shoulders, and we will be held accountable. For those who are older, for those who are younger, same thing. Learn, recognize, understand, be in a good environment. You see something wrong, do something about it. You cannot say something about it. You cannot, at the very least, recognize wrong as wrong. Don't justify it. You do something wrong, don't justify your wrong. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand this, protect us, protect our families. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Some quick announcements. Some of the guidelines during this pandemic, please come with a mask as well as a prayer rug. Wudu area and washroom will be closed. Masjid will have marked. Maintain social distance. Prayer sunnahs for both before and after at home. Children under 10 are not allowed. Anyone that has any underlying medical conditions, we request that they stay home. Please do not socialize in the masjid. As far as the Eid prayers, we know Eid prayers is next Friday. We're going to be having 5 different Eid prayers. The first one will be at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So one after the other, 1 hour. 5 prayers starting from 6, 1 hour gap in between. And if anybody would like to, we're only getting 100 people max at one time. And if anybody would like to sponsor any udhiyah, it's $290. You can go speak in the office or call and find out more information about that. Inshallah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله